when COVID hit, we're in Nebraska, and it was like, how are we gonna figure it out? And my immaturity in those days was more of an aggressive approach with a combination of humor. But now I start to realize more and more is just how, and this sounds dark, but how meaningless life truly is with the things that we seek and desire.
Yeah.
Because there's a direct correspondence between desire and demons. If you increase your desire, there's going to be increase in your demonic, lack of better terminology, just your demonic oppression in life. Because the more you want, the more capacity there's created for pain. Let's go. I think this is my first ever third episode with a guest. Third time. Your third time.
Am I? Third time?
I think. Is this your third time, right? We did a second.
I think it is the third time, yeah.
We did a first, second, and this is our third. Yeah. This is our annual tradition. I think we do one a year. Catch up on trips, catch up on life, and just rip, So this is Sam Marzula, best friend, first successful individual that I had the pleasure of training in the life insurance industry, and now a senior level manager and just crushing it, traveling the world, making a bunch of money and making moves. And, we've in a sense kind of grown up together, because when I came in the business, I think I was 18, 19 years old. And then I think a year and a half, 2 years later, I was probably 20, 21 when you met me, or was I 21?
I think you had just turned 20.
Yeah, I think I just turned 20 or
because I came in. I met Simon end of 2018.
Yeah, I just turned 20.
Started
because I think my 21st was in Nebraska when we called the police in the hotel.
That was your 21st. Yeah. That was a crazy night.
No!
Oh my God!
Get it away from him!
That was a crazy night.
I don't know what we were doing, but the police ended up coming to the hotel, and we were breaking it in. We were breaking in Nebraska. Yeah. So. Funny story. I pretended to be asleep in the bed, and they started tapping my boot, and he said,
"Dude, that was crazy."
I don't know what I said. I was like, "Oh,
yeah." You acted like you were calling your mom.
Yeah, sorry, I was calling my mom. I was asleep. So I don't know. We were just being, young dudes messing around. We were throwing a little party. We had just moved out to Nebraska. It was me, Sam, John, Rob, and I think Nick Fontana, who tried to fight everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few
Let
people.
him be.
Yeah.
Let him have a Bud Light for his birthday. Let it be. That was hilarious. All right, so where did you get back from?
Literally just got off a plane from South Africa.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah. Longest flight of my life. It was like 17 hours.
Now, South Africa, you were in Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
Where did you explore any other places in South Africa? Looked like you went on like a safari.
Yeah, I did. It was It was like 2 hours out of Cape Town, so it wasn't like a different part of South Africa. It was just
Were there any like warnings when people were like, hey, look, if you go to this town or this area, just be careful, this might happen? Like anything. It could have been animals, people, like anything to like be cautious about.
Yeah. I mean, there were parts of the city where people said you should avoid. And then there were wild baboons out.
And don't they say
with
never feed the monkeys?
Yeah, there's signs everywhere saying don't
feed like any animal.
Yeah, don't
Penguins,
interact
monkeys.
with them, anything. Yeah. But no, it was crazy. Crazy
dude.
trip.
What's crazy is those monkeys, even though the ones you were around probably weren't massive, they were probably like 40, 50 pound baboons. Just the strength per pound they have.
Yeah, they can
destroy you. And the way they attack, they go for like your appendages, they go for your fingers, they go for your reproductive organs and your eyes. They're psychotic.
Yeah, I was driving. And I would see these signs of like wild baboons, like don't feed them, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think anything of it. And then I like made a turn, and it was like right outside of a neighborhood, and there was one just sitting on the sidewalk, just
smoking a cigarette.
like, so it was crazy, like seeing all the different things there. But there's definitely some parts.
Now, prior to you going, I was worried because I was like, bro, you got to be careful, because my understanding was South Africa is one of the most dangerous countries in the world right now. And based off the inflation, which you easily displayed by the high-class meals you were having that were $50 US, but 2,000 or 3,000. What was the currency called in South Africa?
Rand. It was a rand.
Rand?
Rand.
Rand. Okay,
Right.
so 2,000 rands
Yeah.
or whatever, and was it equated to like $50 or something like
Yeah.
that. So another thing I saw was I thought there was like some type of electricity tariffs or something where they would shut down the power.
Load shedding.
Load shedding.
Yeah.
Okay, so did that happen at all, or is that only
Yeah,
for
different parts of the city they would cut off the power. I experienced that a few times. Like I would just be in my Airbnb and then just the whole thing would just shut off. But they had like backup lights and there were like generators and stuff. But in the middle of the night I'd be sleeping and then the whole house, the whole townhouse would come back on and everything would light up. But they like do it in sections, so it's not, there's just not enough power down there, so they gotta, section it out.
See, I don't understand why there's not enough power.
I heard one of the Uber drivers, I was talking to him, he was saying it's, they have the money, it's just that, like the politics or whatever.
Very corrupt.
Yeah, they want to,
God.
they could do it, but.
Now, do people down there speak English or they speak Africans?
Both, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So they do a little bit of both. And then the accents, the South African accent sounds a lot like Australian, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does. It was kind of like a melting pot. A lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from Britain, all over.
What was your favorite part of the trip?
It's a good question. The weather, I mean, it's beautiful down there. I had great weather the whole time. Definitely the safari, that was sick. Just like the views, like the mountains are crazy. It's right next to the water, which was cool. And just like, the money down there, like you can literally, it's so cheap. It's funny because it's like all these Uber rides that I would take would be like $9, and the Uber that I took here was $60 from the airport.
Yeah.
So it was like, but so the US dollar goes.
It's still a powerful dollar.
Yeah.
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 It's not as powerful in America right now.
Yeah. No.
Now, out of all the trips you've taken, is this up there? Top 3?
For sure. Yeah. Out of all the places that I've been, I would say Dubai is definitely like overall, like just in all the categories, my favorite.
Yeah.
But South Africa, I mean, I definitely would recommend anyone to go.
Is there any place you haven't gone yet that you want to go?
Yeah, there's a bunch of places. Greece, New Zealand, Australia.
Australia, I'd go to Australia.
Yeah, I want to go there.
I bet that's a longer flight than the flight you just did.
Yeah. The flight that I just took, so I did Cape Town to Atlanta. That was 16 and a half hours.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta to
How much
Chicago.
was Wi-Fi for that 16 and a half?
$10 for the whole flight.
Oh God. No.
Yeah.
I feel like if you originated, if it was an American flight, I bet that would be a $100 Wi-Fi purchase. America.
Yeah. But
now, why did you originally fly to Europe first?
So that was a crazy story. So getting to South Africa was a whole story in itself. So I left Pittsburgh. So what day did I leave? I think I left.
You left like a year ago.
I know it has been a while since I left. So I left Wednesday the 29th. I flew from Pittsburgh to New York. Was in New York, spent a night in New York, and then I left for Paris on the 1st. So from New York to Paris. Missed my connecting flight in Paris to South Africa. So I was flying from New York to South Africa. New York to South Africa. Or New York to Paris, Paris to South Africa. So I knew I messed up whenever I booked the flight because the connecting time in Paris was an hour. So from New York, and you got to go through passport control. When you go into another country, it doesn't matter if you have a connecting, you still got to go through passport control. So we landed in Paris from New York, and we got held on the tarmac for probably 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And I knew I was going to miss the flight. So I'm like running through the airport, and they're like, yeah, you missed it. So I go to the counter, they rebooked me. They're like, you can go to Johannesburg and you would spend like 15 hours there and then would go from Johannesburg to Cape Town. Or we can put you on a flight from Paris to Munich and then you leave from Munich tonight at like 7 p.m. in a direct from Munich to Cape Town, South Africa. So I was like, all right, we'll do that. So I get on a flight from Paris to Munich, Germany, and I don't know how we landed there. The snow was so bad. So we land, and as soon as we got on the ground, I was like, there's no way that I'm leaving here. Like, the snow was that bad. So I get off the plane, you know, and I'm like waiting 5 hours at the airport, and then I get to the gate for the flight from Munich, Germany to South Africa, and they're like, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, and then they're like, all right, we got to cancel it, and it's midnight in Germany. So I have to take an Uber from the Munich airport to a hotel, right? That was $100. So I stayed a night in Munich, Germany. They rebooked me for another flight out of Munich that next day to South Africa. I get a notification the next morning. I wake up and I see that my flight from Munich to South Africa that day is canceled. So I go from my hotel. So I was like, all right, I got to get to Frankfurt because Frankfurt is a little bit north of Munich, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting the snow. So I go to the train station in Munich, right? And they shut down all the trains from Munich to Frankfurt because I was going to take a train from Munich to Frankfurt, which is probably a 4-hour train ride. So they shut down all the trains because of the snow. The snow was that bad. So I get another Uber back to the airport, right? Because then I was like, I got to get a rental car. So I took another Uber. So that was another $120 Uber back from the Munich train station to the airport. So I get a rental car. I get to the airport in Munich the next day. They close the whole airport. Like, they shut down every single flight. They're not taking any more flights in, and no flights are going out, right?
Okay.
It was the worst snowstorm in Munich, Germany since 2006.
Jeez.
So I rented a car, right, which was $700.
Yeah.
To take one way to the Frankfurt airport. So I drove from Munich, Germany to Frankfurt, which was probably 4.5-hour drive. So I get to Frankfurt, stay a night in Frankfurt, leave the next morning from Frankfurt to go back to Paris. I'm on the flight, and keep in mind, my flight from Paris, because I had to rebook another flight to South Africa from Paris. So I'm in Frankfurt, and the flight's delayed from Frankfurt to Paris. Okay. And I only have an hour window in Paris until my flight from Paris goes to South Africa. So we're delayed. So we finally get going. I get off the plane from Frankfurt into Paris, and I am sprinting through the Paris airport. Yeah. Right. And the Paris airport's so big that they have, like, you know, trams that take people everywhere. It's huge.
Like the Dallas airport.
Yeah. Well, you got to get on like a bus. And there were probably 100 people. There were probably 100 people waiting in line to get on this bus to take them to the terminal.
Okay.
I just kind of yelled in front of everyone. I said, my flight's leaving in like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. And I just cut all of them. So I get on this bus, and then they take me to, the terminal. I go and I cut everyone through passport control, get through that, and then I make that flight from Paris to South Africa by 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then that was a 12-hour flight from Paris to South Africa. And then just this flight that I just got off of, right? Yeah. From South Africa to
the ATL.
Yeah, Atlanta. I scan my boarding pass, and it starts blinking red.
You've already had this flight.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, step to the side. So I'm standing there, and it's 15 minutes go by, and like everyone's on the plane. It's just me sitting right by the door. And
wait right there, chappie.
and then this guy comes over and he says, "Sir, on our end, it says you've already taken this flight. You've already flown to Atlanta." And I looked at him. I said,
"How does that make sense?"
Yeah, I was like, well, you're looking at me, so obviously I didn't fly to Atlanta. And he was like, yeah, you're right. So, I thought I was like, I can't miss this flight. Like, like it's not like I missed my flight from Pittsburgh to here or something. Like, this is a huge flight. So they're calling all these people, freaking out, whatever, and finally they, get it. I was the last one on the plane, but I didn't think I was gonna make it back here for a second, but yeah. So that was it. This whole experience was definitely my biggest, travel
debacle.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I'm still lost. Why didn't you just fly from like Pittsburgh to Atlanta to?
I should have. You
just wanted to pass through Europe?
I wanted it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually contacted Delta before I left, and I said, hey, I'm concerned I'm going to miss my flight. And they were like, yeah, we can put you on a flight from New York to Atlanta and then Atlanta to Cape Town. And I said, I'll just go to Paris. And I missed my flight. Huh? Yeah. I was going to, but...
Yeah? No, it sounded cool when you posted it. You're like, I'm going to New York and Paris. And I'm thinking to myself, because you told me you were just going to, South Africa. And I'm like, when did the plans change for you to do like the whole,
For a second, I didn't think I was going to be able to leave Europe.
Yeah. And how did you communicate with all these? I mean, you're talking about, multiple different, you're in France, so there's French, you're in Germany, there's German, you're in South Africa. They all have translators for English?
So what I've found of like any place that I've traveled,
people speak English.
Yeah,
they're bilingual.
Yeah, or like they can speak it enough to where
Yeah, people. That's why I think America is so weak, is because none of us. I bet 90% of Americans are not bilingual.
Yeah,
if not more. But then you go to another country, most individuals in other countries are bilingual or trilingual or quadlingual, whatever.
In their schooling, they're taught a second language.
Well, we're taught Spanish.
Yeah, but it's like we never use it though.
I know, but that's why I'm saying like I think there's polarity when it comes to life, and I always bring this up. But whenever there's a great thing, it's like the way our company's set up. There's a great thing because we have free leads, we have an abundance of leads, but then there's also insurance companies that have zero leads. So it's like there's a handicap to every positive thing perceived. There has to be an equal negative. So if there's light, there has to be dark. So I think there's always some type of opposing force. And I think with America, there's so many awesome things that are just provided to us that it's handicapped us to an extent where it's like everything's handed to us. So now there's no need for us to. I saw somebody post something the other day. I've been studying the U.S. presidents as well, and when you study these presidents up until about 100 years ago, so you figure the first, 30 something presidents, 40 presidents, all were in educational systems where Latin, Greek, and philosophy were taught from a very low level up to a high level. And like somebody posted the other day, they're like, now you're lucky if you get like remedial English classes in college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I when I get emails in all the time of people like, especially like in our industry, because it's sales, so like anybody gets hired, and I'm just looking at like, I'm not a very grammatical individual myself, but I'm like, how did you spell this way? You know what I mean? Like, this makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
0 sense. Back into the trips though. So where's the next big trip? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it every year in the fall, or do you just go with the flow? If it makes sense, it makes sense. When's the next big trip? Where is it?
I think 2024. I think Greece is going to be in 2024. But now that I have a team and stuff like that, I'm thinking I'm going to make it like a competition, shorter
bring
trip.
Somebody.
Like a shorter than 2 weeks.
Yeah. But bring someone.
Yeah.
Ever since you've known me, what's always been my thought on trips personally?
I mean,
I don't like trips.
Yeah.
After watching the South Africa trip, I think I want to take a trip.
Yeah, it's how do I want to say? I feel like there's some people who like absolutely love travel, and then there's some people who like it's just not, it's not for them. But kind of going back what you were saying about like education and stuff like that, I think that's like one of the things that I've learned through seeing the world.
There's no education like interactive education. When you can put your hands on something and there's tangibility to it.
Yeah,
it's like the best thing you can do.
Just seeing how the world, how other parts of the world operate.
Yeah,
like I would never have known if I haven't traveled. I would have never have known that most people internationally they speak. They have multiple languages.
Yeah, and the mannerisms and just the manners are different. Like I think, have you been to Japan or any type of Asian country? So That's a place I think I'd like to go. I hear really great things about Japan.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very weird because they contradict with my beliefs on, firearms. No, I don't believe anybody in Japan owns a gun outside of their military and their police force. But they have some of the lowest crime rate in the world. Now, Chicago has massive restrictions on weapons, but has some of the highest crime rates in the world. So it's kind of conflicting in my thoughts. But I hear great things about Japan. I think that would be a cool place, and we would be giants there, from what I hear. Like the average person's like 5'4".
Yeah,
so that'd be awesome, dude. And they like love Americans. You know what I mean? I would just tell them I'm Kane Brown or something like, or maybe like, man, I don't know. I'd just say something crazy like, hey, I'm Donald Trump or something. Get a bunch of get them crazy. Oh.
You remember that one time when I was out here and we were calling restaurants to get reservations?
Yeah, I probably
Rob,
pulled the CEO
Rob
card.
was like, I'm with the Kevin Hart agency or something.
Yeah,
like I'm with the Biden administration.
Something stupid. Man, dude. Yeah, the trips got me. I think these last two have gotten me curious, from Dubai to South Africa, and I think for me, I think I've been lying to myself. I think I love the idea of trips. I think what I don't love is the lack of convenience. I'm a very convenient individual. Conveniency and consistency is a massive thing for me. So any opportunity where I could save time, like that whole issue.
Oh yeah. You would have hated it.
Oh yeah. I would have. I would have become a political prisoner. You know what I mean? I would have been imprisoned in Germany or something from just lack of patience. But man, dude, like I think to myself, Australia would be awesome. But then I also think, man, dude, like getting into another country, like, is there enough time for you to even like, you get overwhelmed with like analysis paralysis. Like I think I would like look up so many different things to do and then get there and then like, oh man, it's too hot. I don't want to go outside or something. You know what I mean? Like,
to be honest,
I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go there.
Yeah. When I was in South Africa, I feel like you could get away with like a week and a half there.
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks was a little bit long for that trip. But yeah, towards the end of it, I was just like, I had nothing else to do because I did everything,
it all.
Unless there was somewhere else to go in South Africa, but there was really no other place that I needed to go, in there. But Dubai, I think 2 weeks is because there's endless things to do there.
Can't even imagine. What about I see another agency in our organization is going to Ireland. That sounds cool. I'm taking my mom to Scotland in a couple years. So we got it planned out for her 60th. We'll go to Scotland. So, that'll be cool. I'll maybe tell her we got to, jump over to Ireland too.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know exactly where I was going with this, but what's on my mind right now is when you do take these massive trips, for me, I get curious about the food. And I saw you post a lot about the food there. Well, did you have a favorite experience? Was it like different, or was it just like any other high-end restaurant?
So I was actually thinking about this when I was out there. So it was like, when we first started in the business, it was like when we would go out to eat like to a nice restaurant, like Capitol Grill or like Napa, like that would be like the craziest thing to us because in Pittsburgh, like those are like the nicest restaurants.
Yes.
But in South Africa, the restaurants that I were going to, it was like, 7-course like dinner, and every thing that they would bring out, they would like explain everything and the ingredients and all those different things. And like, it was an experience. It wasn't like you order a steak at a nice restaurant.
Yeah,
it was
you were doing like Michelin style restaurants. It looked like.
Yeah, exactly. And the bill would come out to $90.
Yeah.
Right. But I was going to a lot of those restaurants, and some of the best food I've ever had in my entire life. It was amazing. I would still say Dubai has overall better food, but the restaurants specifically that I was going to, like for those were like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was when I was at those restaurants, it just made me think about like when we would go to,
I'll never forget that Florida restaurant we went to, and we had that older gentleman come up to us. He's like, "What do you drink?"
Was that the one with the dessert room?
Yeah, I think it was the one with the
we went
dessert room.
upstairs and it was
we
were
like, "Do you guys have desserts here?" Because that's our thing. We just get desserts, and the lady was like, yes, follow us. I was like, follow us? Where are we going, dude? Like,
Yeah,
there was a whole room
separate
dedicated
room.
to desserts.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were like mesmerizing. It was a cool like ambiance, this experience, and everything like that. But that dude was so funny, man.
Yeah.
So funny, like out of a movie.
Yeah.
Literally out of a movie, dude. Literally. And I think I just got in the car after that and drove 16 hours back home.
That was the funniest. Oh my god, dude. We have so many funny memories.
Funny, dude.
I remember, so him and I spent about a week. Was it a week? I don't know. 2 weeks in Florida.
Yeah,
I drove from Illinois to Florida to meet you in Tampa. And it was like,
No. We were in
no, it was Tampa.
it was Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was.
Because we went to Tampa, then we drove from Tampa to Miami for my birthday.
Okay.
Then we went back to Tampa. But it was like the last night.
Yeah.
And that was such a fun week. And because you and I would go out, in person, and we would, sell, and then we would come back, and then we would just go out to a nice dinner or whatever. But I'll never forget this. This is the funniest thing ever. So we get done at this restaurant, and I like valeted my car or whatever, and you did too or something. And I walk out of this restaurant, and like, I didn't even you didn't even say goodbye to me. I just saw your car speed off, and you were driving back to Pittsburgh. Like, it wasn't like I was gonna see you later.
Yeah.
Like, you just drove off like a 17-hour drive from Florida.
We would drive straight through every time too.
Oh my god!
Anytime people complain to me now in regard to the amount of dials or just resources or anything like that, I always remind myself to what it took, and that's why I asked you to speak to the agency tomorrow. That I didn't even tell anybody. Because just to give them a picture, and I think we have to give ourselves pictures as well, because sometimes I get caught up. I think you're not pursuing anything great if you don't go back in your mind in a present state of mind and say, man, this sucks right now. Like if you're not visiting that mind space probably once a day or a couple times a week of like, man, this sucks right now, you're taking for granted where you used to be.
Yeah.
And so like, I wouldn't trade where I'm at now, the pain of where I'm at now, for the pain that we had years ago, because the pain we had years ago cost us thousands of miles to generate half the results we do
overhead.
now. A lot of overhead, and not even overhead financially, overhead energetically, emotionally. Like I can't even imagine. Like I can't explain how much energy we expelled from. I mean, you like driving, and
yeah. To be honest, I don't know. I loved it.
I hated the driving, dude. Like how I drove. I'd set a movie on, and that's the only way I could stay awake.
What I would do. That's what I would do. Like when I would do these, I've adopted a lot of bad driving habits because of you. Dude. Like we would do these long drives, and I would just like take off my shoes, kick my feet up on the dash, and like put my phone and watch a documentary while driving.
Thank God no one ever got injured, but yeah. And we'd always have contests to see who could get there the fastest without getting pulled over, and because we drive pretty much side by side, and like we'd see the lights come on, and we'd both be like, "It's you're getting it," and then we'd both get it.
I'm glad though that well, you experienced 2 years of it. I only experienced 1 year of it, but I'm glad that we experienced that.
You've done way more miles than me, though. When I clocked out, it was like 150, 200,000 miles.
Over 2 years?
Yeah.
See, I put 120,000 miles on my car in...
My Mile IQ said, it was and that you got to take into consideration, Mile IQ went to Nebraska, all those trips.
Yeah.
So that's probably 2.5 years. It was like 200,000 miles.
I put like 120,000 miles on my car in like a year, a little over a year.
But I feel like you...
Because I did more road trips than you. This is my second year.
I was going to say, I think just in general. Though,
well, not my second year, because...
You just driven.
Yeah.
You didn't track Mile IQ, though, did you?
No,
I had Mile IQ. That tracks every mile you've ever driven.
Oh, okay.
So when I got started in 2017, I downloaded Mile IQ for the CPA. You know what I mean? Because then you could turn in the miles, and they would write off up to half.
Yeah, that's what I did. That in 2019.
I was gonna say, how'd you do it?
I didn't do the Mile IQ thing, but I wrote off the miles.
Yeah, you just gave him a guess number.
90% of what almost damn near 100% of what we did was in relation to the business. Yeah. So I wrote off. I drove 120,000 miles.
Just stop talking about taxes for you.
Yeah.
Hey, do you still? When's the last time you've been to LA?
I was just there.
Do you still like it?
I love it. That's still probably my favorite city in the world.
I hear that it's misconstrued in regard to the media says it's destroyed, but then when people that go there, they say there's like any other place, there's bad places, there's good places.
Yeah, I think living there, I don't think it'd be a good time living there.
Yeah.
You know, like the taxes and stuff like that. But
Or the homeless
cost
villages.
of living, yeah, like
I heard a homeless village caught on fire in California here recently.
I don't know where all these villages are. Like I don't know where where people are saying like I mean there's like what you said, there's good and bad parts to it. Like I've been to the really bad parts of Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. For what?
I was feeding homeless people.
What were you feeding them? They're not ducks. It made it sound like
burritos.
I got bread together. Went down there to the homeless village.
It was this nonprofit where we would make burritos and go give them out to the homeless
that
people.
one.
Yeah.
I remember when you let them stay at our crib.
That was a different nonprofit.
Oh, okay. Hopefully this other one you're talking about. How are the people? Are you still friends with ones from? I don't know if we can say. Are they still in existence?
Yeah.
The well one.
Yeah.
Are you still friends with anybody from there?
Yeah.
How are they doing?
They're good. Yeah. Everyone's good.
That's good.
Yeah. I still talk to them.
That's good.
Yeah.
Remember that that one girl you recruited? If heaven ain't a lot like Dixie.
Oh yeah.
I won't say her name, but that was hilarious.
That was
Have you heard anything about her?
No.
You should give Joey her social media, tell her to recruit her.
That was wild. It's funny. So you've been here 6 years working.
Yeah.
6 years.
6 years.
So
6 years in a month. This is my month.
January will be 5 years for me. It's crazy. I think we always talk about this when we do this, but it's crazy how quick time goes.
Yeah. The years fly.
And it's like all the people who you come across and who you work with and who you know, just it's funny how like people come into your life and it's just
every time I have an impression with somebody, even on a very low level, I'm like, oh, I'll be with this person for years. And sometimes, most of the time, it's not years.
Yeah.
It's months, it's quarters.
But what's funny is that you never know.
Never know.
You know, like you never like.
It's the most unexpected. Like I never expected. I always tell you, I never expected. You to be here. I was like, when we first met, I was like, I remember like I didn't even talk to you like pretty much the first couple weeks. You know what I mean? Like, but you're like, oh.
I think that is a thing. Like I don't know if it's just in this business, but in life, it's always the people or the things that you least expect.
I think with our faith, I think that's just the way God like shows His consistency in the Word. It's always in the least individuals, the least areas of expectation that His biggest blessings are revealed.
Yeah,
and it's so cool to see because it's like even though we have who is it? Open the door. Trying to do a podcast. You don't have to pause it. Who is it? Yeah. You all right? Yeah, I'm doing a podcast. You all right? You can come in. What's the matter? No, that's all right. This is the first guy I trained in the business.
What's up, man? Nice to meet you.
All right, so where were we?
Talking about
God. I think the way God works in just in such mysterious ways, and I think I always share this at least a couple times a year on what you taught me. And I don't know if you got it from your dad or if you came up with it yourself, but I remember asking you, because I was always very biased. I always thought if you didn't come from a rough upbringing, one, I don't think I had as much respect for individuals that didn't, and two, I didn't think you had a drive to make you successful. I thought it was all inherited. And you are still to this day the hardest working individual that I've come across, pretty much out of both sides. And here's what you told me. We were at dinner and he looked me in the eye and I asked him, I was like, Sam, I got to ask you a question. And we've always been like, from the beginning, like I didn't have to package it in a very like nice way or a very political way. And I was like, Sam, I need you to tell me, how are you, what drives you? Because you come from a great upbringing. Your parents are together. They have a loving relationship. Your dad did very well for himself. You never really had to want for anything. You know, you had a significant amount of money saved up, graduating high school, like coming out of school. Like you've always, you know, you had that good typical American childhood dream. And he looks me in the eye and he says it very simple. He's like, I think you did say your dad. I think he said, my dad told me coming up, there's two types of people in this world. There's one that come from situations like yours and it creates a sense of desperation. And then there's ones of people like myself and there's a sense of inspiration. And it to this day, you know what I mean? It reminds me to never judge a book by its cover, whether there's, you know, a good young man or woman that had a great upbringing, and a piece of me down deep inside is like, man, you didn't go through what I went through. But I always go back to that lesson, to that message, and that impacted me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting. You never know what is in someone's heart. Like when I first started here, it was almost like, and I know it's the same for you. It didn't feel like I had to yes, I had to put in a ton of effort, but it was almost like there was this force behind me.
It just was like fun.
Yeah, like it was just like, it was almost like this flow state. Like it was just like we were staying up late, we were working like crazy, we were doing everything, but it didn't feel like work. Like it didn't feel like it wasn't.
I wish we documented it more because we were so passionate in the process. There wasn't much documentation as there is now.
I often think about that first year, 2019, man, and how special
that was
that year. Just like there was just this like magic that year.
Yeah.
Because I think I think for the both of us, we both knew what was ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like how special our future was, like how great after that, like what was coming. You know, like I knew whenever I met Simon for the first time, before I talked to him.
Is that your car outside? Yeah, it is. You show me proof it's your car. I swear to God, I drop out of college. I quit my job. I work for you right now.
I knew if I didn't speak to him, I knew I was gonna miss something big.
Yeah.
And it was just like that.
Nobody
first
ever comes
year
up to me.
Huh?
Me driving that stupid truck. Is that your stupid truck outside? You garbage man?
But well, that's, you know, it's like, I don't know. When people first start, I guess that's one of my like biggest pieces of advice, or I don't know, but it's like, cherish your first year here. Cherish every year that you're here.
Yeah.
But like, there's something really special about your first year here.
It's like a honeymoon phase. It's like that first year of a relationship where you just are like, you're down to do anything. And it doesn't have any type of energetic charge. Like it's just like you are, like you said, that flow state of like, you have this infinite source of just energy of like, I can go all day and all night. You know that you're going to be married to it. Like if it, like the people who are going to be here long term, you know that you're going to be married to it. Special. Like, you know, it's going to be a long-term thing in your life. It's going to be for a significant amount of time in your life. And, you know, what has come from all this is, you know, the financial, the money and everything like that, that's been amazing. But like really what I've gotten from this, and no one can ever tell you this before someone starts here, right? You just have to experience it for yourself, is just the wisdom, the knowledge that you're going to get, the personal development, the opportunity to help people, and just the deep connections and relationships that I have with people. Like that, I'd say the relationships is number one for me, because every year, the more I read, the more I learn, all of the wisdom, knowledge, all of those, you know, mentorship and all of the development, I'm just like, I would take less of that just for more of people like you, more relationships, more time. Because I think with the right relationships, I've just, especially over this last year of getting different individuals on the podcast, I've had just absolute buffoons on my podcast that are just extremely wealthy financially, but their relationships and connections that they have that are deep, genuine relationships have just propelled them to a level in life that is honestly 1,000 times further than we are when it comes to business. And it's all because of the connections that they have. So it's like, I don't know, man, you can't force it, but like, it's almost the deeper your connections are with people. And it's like, you know, you don't, that it's just a byproduct, right, of these relationships. Like it's, you know, the things that will come from relationships with people. But it's like what you said, the most important thing is that genuine relationship with someone, and, you know. Yeah, man. It's deep, dude. It's really deep, man. Man, I'm so caught up in these trips. I'm so curious on like, now will you do any littler trips in the first, second quarter? Is there anything small? I think that's something that we did really well in Nebraska. Remember we did the quarterly trips. We'd go to Arizona. So I think that's a good thing for you to incorporate into your business. Is telling your guys, hey, look, first quarter, or just make sure you unite with your leaders over there, and it's like, hey, get together with the guys, tell them to pitch in. You, Brody, Joey, you guys could put together a sick trip. There's cool things to do still in America. I know you've been to like every state. Have you been to every state?
Majority of them.
I mean, Alaska would probably be an extensive trip, probably too far. But like Utah, some of those Midwestern places, there's some cool things to do.
The United States is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. There's just so many different.
There's a lot to do. There's a lot to get done. Dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I don't know, man. Experiences with people is an underrated, compelling incentive.
Yeah.
Not everybody always wants to participate. Some of your top performers, like myself, where it's like, I don't want to be jarred from my routine. But with the right people, I'd go to Kansas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you, Brody.
Well, I've seen you.
I'd go to Topeka, Kansas.
I've how you were saying like you're not that big of a fan of traveling. I've traveled with you before, and it's funny because it's like you do what you love to do, like on those trips, like something that you and I love to do is we love to go out to eat, like we love to experience, go to restaurants, and anytime we've been on a trip, it's always been like, let's try to find the best restaurants in that city or whatever it is. But no, we've had a blast on those trips, and traveling, like, not only does it does a couple things, like for me, right? Not only do I feel like I grow as a person, because I feel like I grow when I'm in those, like, you're on your own kind of thing. Like, like it was in Europe, like all hell's breaking loose. Like, I'm trying to get out of Germany, all these different things. But, from like a business standpoint, especially in our industry, it's like, I've gone on all these trips, right? And I think I've done a decent job of documenting and sharing on social media and stuff like that. And as a byproduct, and what I've learned through this or what I've found out is that, a byproduct of me traveling and sharing all this is from a recruiting standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Like sharing that with people, because it's like, I know there's people who love travel as much as I do, right? And I know, like, if let's say I came across someone's Instagram or, whatever, and they're traveling all over the place, whatever, that would be intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that's the other benefit is, that's what's cool about our business, is that you can incorporate, what you're passionate about into helping your business.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to market it.
Right.
A lot of people do cool things and not market it, and so it's just like, for the most part, it's just surface level, but it's all right, whatever you want to do.
That's, so in terms of, because we talk a lot about like investing in our business and stuff like that, that has been by far the biggest investment that I've made, is
the traveling.
Traveling,
I
and
imagine.
then, sharing.
You probably spent six figures over the last 5 years of, if you looked at all your traveling. It's got to be close to 6 figures in general.
Yeah.
All expenses associated.
Yeah.
Have you been to Hawaii?
No.
Wow.
No.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Hawaii taken care of.
Yeah.
Who are you going to bring as a +1? Do you know yet?
I don't know yet. I
Yeah?
don't know who I'm going to bring.
Okay.
Yeah. I got to figure that out. My parents got married in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. And that's where your dad used to do his president's clubs.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
There was a parrot at their wedding. It was my parents and then a parrot. And
Oh, man. I'd love to have a parrot.
Yeah.
Just a talking parrot right now.
Dude, I think you should get a parrot. Yeah, you got the tortoise.
You got the tortoise. We could make a jungle in here. What's been the biggest, I don't know if you've had time to reflect, what's been the biggest lesson for you so far for 2023?
I learned
How to read?
So 2022, last year, I was just personal producer. I was just selling. This year was really, really, really in leadership. Transitioning from 2022 to 2023, I was very nervous to get into leadership. Again, I was like, because I was in leadership before, and then, but for some reason, 2022 going into 2023, I was very nervous getting back into it. And what I quickly learned was that everything prior to this year has prepared me for this year in terms of leadership. Like I was afraid of doing it, but once I got into it, I loved it.
Yeah.
And, it's like how we talk about, you go through things in life, and at the time you might not know what it's doing, or how is this helping me?
Yeah.
It might be framed as, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me or whatever. But then when you come to those points in your life where skill is required, it's like a light switch. You see like, okay, like all that adversity and everything, like that's what this was preparing me for. So I felt leadership was just very I felt ready for it.
Yeah.
What
are you most excited for next year?
More leadership, just scaling.
What's the detailed vision? I think what I've over the years gotten better at is being more precise at the vision. I'm not a very logical individual. I don't like to break down the exact number of the exact day. I'm more so relationships. More of a emotional, passionate person. But I would say the logic behind it, like what's the numbers in mind or the people in mind? What's the vision? I feel like you've got a vision on your trips. New Zealand, Australia, Greece. Well, what's the vision for the trip of business?
Right.
Like where is it for you next year?
So next year, at least 1 million team production, including myself into that. So personal production, I want to do at least 250.
Who's your right hand individual that is going to be your nucleus to help you drive that?
Gavin and Angelo.
Gavin and Angelo.
Yeah. Yeah.
What motivates them?
Angelo is his family. It's how much he wants to help his family.
He's Italian?
Yeah. Yeah. Angelo is same with Gavin. I mean, Gavin is both some of the most the hardest working people I know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is they have a huge why behind them.
Big Italian family.
Yeah. But just building through them, and developing them, it's funny because it's like what I noticed this year is like when you're managing a large team, right, you need leaders to lead other people.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're ineffective if you're the sole leader of a bunch of people. So it's like developing them into leadership, just helping them grow. But 1 million team production with myself included next year. But.
So my next question is I'm finishing up this book right now called Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick David.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me this has been a very key thing for growing my career in general, is always having somebody or something that's motivated me on an aggressive level to go out and do more, do better, and become better. Mm-hmm. Who is that? What is that for you in 2024?
Something that motivates me?
Yeah, an enemy, something that has wrong, someone or something that has wronged you and motivated you. Like, for instance, I can think of, something that happened to yours is someone reaching out and just kind of condescendingly speaking to me in regard to, how I can improve on a specific, topic, almost not related to the business, but semi-related to the business. And so that is, I've created that in my mind as a way worse than it actually transpired. It was honestly, in reflection, it was a good thing that transpired that was needed, but I've created in my mind and fabricated it as like just an absolute, attack. And that's a chip on the shoulder that I'm going to add into next year to inspire me to do more. I think back to my principal telling me I'm going to end up like my dad, just in jail. All the people that laughed, doubted, hated, and anything that's kind of transpired from past, internal, like what is it that's going to really...
I think that person for me is myself.
Yeah.
Like, because I've been here 5 years. I've had an interesting, path. I've had very high points and very low points. And you look back, it's like the longer that you're here, the easier it is to be here.
Yeah.
You become more calloused, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, adversity comes, you've been through it. Like you've just, but I would say that person for me is myself, because it's like, I don't really have any, like, no one, there are people who could say things that would, get me going or, whatever. But it's like, what I really look at is the person who I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like because I've been the person I don't want to be. Mm-hmm. And I've also been the person who I do want to be.
Yeah.
And I never want to go back to the person I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes sense.
Like that, because I'm able to look back on that. But I would say and that's every year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Is there anything new that you're kind of tapping into, books, podcasts, things that just have your attention, other habits, hobbies?
Just a lot of continued development in leadership and actually applying it, right? Because it's one thing to read about leadership, but it's different to actually live it, but it's cool to see where it intertwines, right? Like, okay, you read about it, now you're experiencing it. And that's the other thing is, like, with experience, I think that's the best teacher that there possibly is because I've been through a lot in the business, and I can be very relatable to someone. Deal canceled, okay, that's happened to me. Yep. Like I feel like everything's crumbling, okay, that's happened to me.
Beaver Association leads. Yeah.
So it's like I've been like I've been through it.
You never ran the Beaver Association?
Or the raccoon.
Yeah, we got the
Raccoon Trappers Association.
Raccoon Trappers, Beaver Associations. Got it all, brother. Pittsburgh scene. Anything new out there, food wise?
It's not
anything new, fun to do out there.
I feel
like it's a dying city.
Yeah, it's not like New York or Chicago where
it's like way more stuff to do here. I'm surprised I don't do more, but I jet skied probably once a weekend last summer.
Yeah,
and not on that stupid Mahanga Naylor River, whatever you guys have, like Lake Michigan.
Yeah,
excuse me, jet skiing out here, sick, dude. Food out here, sick. You know what I mean? We go up to this special place on Lake Michigan. It's a special entry. Me and Dave are going up there, and you feel like you're on, like, I've been to, where is it? Is it like Anaheim? I think it's in like Washington, D.C. or some type of like harbor up there. Mm-hmm. And it feels like a luxury type of like cove.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, because they have like a beach front. It's the only naturally sanded place on Lake Michigan. And I mean, they got phenomenal seafood, like high class hotels right on the waterfront. There's a diversity of wealthy individuals that are just like kind of blue collar minded, because it's in a pocket of just like open minded, like hardworking, wealthy people that have earned a significant amount of money. And it opens your eyes, and you're out on the water, you're having a great time. And Chicago's a scene. I don't like the nightlife in inner city party scene. It's a lot of just young kids just drinking and partying, and they monetize off of it. There's a lot of club promoters here. I don't know if Pittsburgh has this, but there's like club promoters, and it's almost like they've developed like this club promoting MLM type deal where you'll get a bunch of, like, I'll get like girls DMing and different things like that, and I'm like, oh, she likes me, and then I come to find out she's a club promoter or something. She's like, okay, well, just come meet me at the club, $5,000. And I'm like, I'm not buying the table. You know what I mean? Like, well, I think it's not the case.
I mean, with Chicago, like any of these major cities, right? New York, Chicago, Miami, LA, they're hubs of the world.
Yeah, they are.
Right? Like, so it's, I feel like, you know, that's the difference between Pittsburgh and Chicago is like, you can't, like, no one's, like, I had my connecting flight or back in the US was to Atlanta. Like, there's no, like, I've never flown an international flight that brought me back from where I was at internationally straight back to Pittsburgh. So it's like you connect in these hubs, and like these hubs are where it's always like changing constantly, you know, like the food scene, the, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
This dude just texted me some weird text. Something about there's a new law out. Federal Communications Commission regulates interstate and international communications by radio. Let's see what the new FCC law is. New FCC law. Under the new rules, the commission will now have the authority to red flag certain numbers, which requires mobile carriers to block text from the numbers. Regulators are also making it illegal for telemarketing text to be sent to numbers on the do not call registry. So he's asking me if this is going to affect our business. I'm just going to say, to best of my knowledge, no. Just get more referrals. That's the best thing you could say as a sales manager. I love just making memes of myself. When you're asking like, hey man, I'm really feeling down, the sales manager's automatic response, just get more referrals, could be absolutely zero, like zero relation to sales. Yeah, it's all right, just get more referrals. Yeah, my dog's dying, get more referrals. My leg fell off, get more referrals. I got COVID, get more referrals.
That's something that you've always been good at in leadership is the humor.
Yeah,
you know,
I have to be, because I get so like internally, I'm just as scared. I think for a moment when people ask, like when COVID hit, we're in Nebraska, and I was like, how are we going to figure it out? And my immaturity in those days was more of an aggressive approach with a combination of humor. But you know, now I start to realize more and more as just how, and this sounds dark, but how meaningless life truly is with the things that we seek and desire.
Yeah. Because
there's a direct correspondence between desire and demons. If you increase your desire, there's going to be increase in your demonic, lack of better terminology, just your demonic oppression in life. Because the more you want, the more capacity there's created for pain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because there's a lot. When you look at individuals, there's two ways to have zero pain in this life. Essentially, it is to be a monk, to want nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, you can still experience physical pain, or to just not to exist. I was thinking in the sauna the other day, I was like, how do I get rid of all the stress and the pain? And I'm like, well, the only place that there's an absolute absence of stress and pain would be heaven, and the only way to heaven is through death. So I would have to die to null and void all of this stress and pain. And so there's beauty in it again, because it goes back to with everything, there's an opposite to that thing. With every dark day, there's a light day ahead. With every dark season, with every breakup, there's a new love ahead. With every charge back, there's a new deal ahead. Yeah. With every person that left you, there's a new person ahead. And especially when you get into sales, a lot of people get into this dogmatic mindset of when people leave you, that like, we could no longer be friends again, or something like that. I'm like, when did you, prior to sales, did you ever own somebody? You know what I mean? And then you get into sales and you like think you own people. Like even as business owners, entrepreneurs that even aren't in sales, like if you do research on Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and these people we aspire to be like, and I want to be the next richest man or woman in the world. And it's like, do you know how many things are going in and out of them? Things are just revolving from relationships. Yeah. Multiple, just, you know, it's not my aspiration, but different wives, from breakups to like different executives and replacing boards and different lawsuits and all of this pain and stress. But we just look at the positivity and the presence that they have in this world and the power that they have. And so I think for me, I really try to think like that now and push my perspective out to an extent of like, okay, when I'm 85, 95, 105 years old, hopefully, and I'm looking back on my life, will any of this matter? Like, will I be thinking about how well this podcast episode did? Will I be thinking about, was I better than Mr. Beast in media? Will I be thinking about, did I beat all the insurance industry records? Yeah. Will I be thinking about all the money that I had? I don't think so. I think I'll be thinking about the relationships and missing my mom, my sister, missing, you know, whoever's like not in my life, children, like just knowing that it's come to an end.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that's going to be my end all feeling, why don't I just laugh? You know what I mean? Why don't I just laugh right now?
So I think my question for you then, because you have this balance between that and then execution and getting things done and results. So, I think that there is a fine line that someone, or an area in which you have to be in, to where you have to have that mindset to where you don't stress yourself out crazy, but also to where you're not like falling behind. So I think that's a question for you, and maybe you could touch on that. Is like, okay, so how do you then have both? It's almost like where you care but don't.
I'm expressing people to essentially not care, because if you're 100 years old and none of this matters, then somebody watching this might take it as, okay, well, I might as well live this hippie mindset. You know what I mean? And I would classify myself as essentially like a hippie entrepreneur, someone that understands that what I can't control is going to happen. It is what it is. What I can control, I apply that entrepreneurial mindset. And I think when I self-diagnose my emotional well-being and how I operate the way that I do, again, it's all the way my life has been constructed and destructed has wired me into the man that I am, from all of the relationships that have been broken. And I think a big piece of it is, I think I miss that I didn't have, I feel like statistically, individuals that grow up in my situation, which is more than 50%, without a dad in the house, I think 80 to 90% of us end up with almost 100% end up with a poorer education. 80 to 90% end up way more likely to end up incarcerated. Just there's no fulfillment in their life. But I think when I break it down to very simple terms, I feel like I miss that. I wish I would have had a dad. And I think that it compels me, because now I have this fear of, I wonder, because he doesn't talk to me. And I always have this deep down inside of like, I think where I'm driven so hard is I hope, maybe if he did care about me, that I made him proud, And I think it's like, even now thinking about it hurts, because I know my mom's very proud of me, but I could see like my sister too. She's very, very, whatever happens, but whatever doesn't happen, doesn't happen. It's not within my control. So, but I think deep inside, when I like self-diagnose, because a lot of people want to avoid the issues of their childhood. Everyone, I don't care who you are, the more surface level your scars are, I think because I would relate to somebody like that, it just tells me it was a little easier for you to go through what you go through. But when you look at like a cut heals, externally. But when you have cancer, it's months of chemotherapy and internal scarring and destruction. Yeah. And someone that's gone through things that doesn't reveal what they've gone through, it's like they're holding in a cancer. And it's like what the Bible says. There's phrases, it's like when you hold in envy and pain and all of these things that aren't of the Lord, that aren't positive and healthy and loving, it creates almost a disease within you. And so I think for me, it's like trying to expel that so I don't hold that in, because I look at individuals and I'm like, I know you're holding something in, because I used to think adversity was just surface level, but now I know the deepest and most painful adversities are mental. Yeah. When people, it's like, and I'm not a big advocate of like, oh, the mental health. And it's like, no, listen, just shut up and face what you went through. Tell us what you went through, and then let's come up with a plan on how you're going to work out of it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to put on a front anymore. And I think that's what I try to challenge myself is like, what did you go through? How can you fight it? And then when I come up with that combination and solution, it's usually just an energy that just motivates me to want to go make myself proud, this alternate reality of my dad proud, continue to make my mom proud, and really, my faith as well. Just like I want to make Jesus proud of me. So I think those things are the compelling side, and then I balance out with the contentment side of I'm just grateful to have another day.
There was, I think, this is a long time ago, I posted this. It talked about like, you gotta give 100%, and then whatever happens, just be okay with it. Yeah. Right? It's like, you gotta, like, you can't have the sole mindset of like, whatever happens. Like, you gotta control it. But then once it's out of your control, then you can't have any relation to it. Like, you can't have any attachment to it. Yes. Right? So I think that's like, to sum up what you just said, what's like, give 100%, control as much as you control, but whatever happens, just let it be. That's what it is. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing, because we got dinner, what's the biggest thing you would leave the audience with that has just compounded in your mind over the years into who you are today? If you had to leave the world right now with one thing, leave your children with one thing, and it has to be intangible. It can't be like, oh, I'm sending everybody $100. You know what I mean? Like, what are you leaving everybody with? What do you got for us?
Who we interact with, just, I don't know, the more that I'm alive, the more that I see what always comes to the forefront of everything is just relationships with people.
Yeah, so crucial.
But like how special that is.
Yeah.
You know, like the human experience.
Yeah.
You know, and just how much you can help each other, how much you can help the world through just experience, through relationships, positive relationships.
Yeah, 1,000%. I was so scared when you paused and then kind of drew out the who. I was like, is he going to say who let the dogs out? And I was going to lose it. I was like, who let the dogs out? I was like, this idiot. Guys, another episode of Adversity Kings. Third time guest, Sam Marzula. Next year, be tuned in. Where's he going to go? Make your predictions.
Yep.
I'm hoping he goes to Australia, and I'd like to try to go if he goes to Australia. I want to wrestle a koala or something, you know what I mean? And just fight it for a eucalyptus or something. And, see, actually, you got to be careful with wrestling them. I heard they all have a disease. Do your research on it, though. You know, but yes, another episode of Adversity Kings. If you guys are interested in getting into sales, mentorship, life development, this is somebody that's made over 7 figures being in sales over the last 5 years. You know, President's Club, many awards, and just an overall good human being. Please DM Sam Marzula. I'm going to have his Instagram in there for you guys. Media team, you know what to do. Shout out the media team. Behind the camera, we got John Zaleski. We got All Caps Media. Every single one of you, from Dion to Ruben, and Dion and Ruben, you guys let everybody know, hopefully if you see up to this part, I thank you and I appreciate you for everything you've done to grow this podcast. We had a phenomenal year. I think for 2 years in existence, we've done over 200 episodes, and they've worked with me. We've lost probably 20% of the episodes from errors on my end to technical errors. Just, we've grinded to get to where we're at, and, now we're averaging over 100,000 views a month. I know people do 100 million views a month, but we're doing 100,000 views a month, and we've come a long way. We landed a bunch of big guests this year, but these are always my favorite episodes because I don't associate quality to a title or to power. Again, quality for me, just like Sam ended it with, is the relationship. Quality of the relationship is going to determine the quality of the episode. So this is favorite episode pretty much every year so far. So next year, we'll see when he takes his trip, and we'll have him come right out here, and we'll be the first one to recap it. So until we see you again, podcast, peace.